One. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hat Trick Sports Talk. I got Shane here. I got Brandon here. I'm Robert. We are recording this on a Thursday night, not a Friday night, but still the same show as always. You guys ready?
Yeah, whenever you are.
All right, let's do it. We are starting with one of the bigger news stories of the day. Jamal Adams and the Jets have reached an impasse in contract talks, according to ESPN's Rich Cimini. Basically, we've been hearing about this for about a year now, that we're not sure about Jamal Adams' deal. We know that there's potential of him being traded, and that's been circulating back and forth and back and forth. What are your thoughts on this situation now? Do you think he's finally going to be traded, or are you guys in a position where you're worried about the Jets because this just keeps going on and on and on?
Well, considering it's the Jets and they can't, I'll say this. Look, the Jets, they started this year to make me think that maybe this year was the year that they could actually get their life in order. They're like, oh God, they're like. Here's an analogy I'll give. Right, the Jets are like. Jets are like the 18-year-old who goes off to college, right? And they think that they have everything together. And so they go off to college and they party and they live life. But eventually they realize that they don't know jack diddly squat and they can't get everything done, even though they still have this idea in their mind that they are able to have success. That's what's going on here. The Jets set themselves up very well with the draft, right? But in the past, they've been terrible. And they've also been very bad at keeping any good players they've had that they've been able to acquire. Most players they acquire in the draft are gone after their first 4 years.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they would be I don't know why they're even allowing contract negotiations to stall, because if I'm the Jets, I'm like, you know what? We will give you as much damn money as you want because he's that good.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Shane, what's your perspective on this whole situation?
I mean, I'm just kind of tired of it, to be completely honest, I don't blame him for wanting to go. But at the same time, I wish they would, and like Brandon said, I wish they would actually, make a decent effort to try and keep these guys past their rookie contracts. Because, the Jets are on the rise, I think, and he's obviously a key piece defensively for them. And so do you know exactly what they were trying to offer him, or
that hasn't come out, but what I will tell you is that they've been in contract talks for about a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And they've
Which
been
raises
shopping.
eyebrows.
They've been shopping him for a year and a half. And
no one's doing anything?
The best deal that they've gotten, I think, the Cowboys gave him a really good offer. I think the Cowboys gave him a couple seconds, but the Jets at that point, with their offensive line, they were like, give us a couple seconds and your top offensive lineman, which is just ridiculous. And that's kind of the one team I kind of cling to for Jamal Adams. I'm like, if I'm the Cowboys, why not give up 2 firsts to get him? But I think the Jets are wanting an offensive lineman for him, which is very difficult to get, even for a top player like Jamal Adams.
Especially for Dallas.
Yeah, and I think personally, I'm very high on Jamal Adams. I personally think that he could fetch a first.
No, I do too.
I think reasonably, if the Jets are going to trade him, they should be looking for a first from him because he's that good.
But I think the biggest thing that's happened with the Jets and Jamal Adams in terms of trade talks is they're overvaluing him. a lot. And they're asking for too much, which is amazing. But I honestly think based on all the reports they've heard for the last year, especially the Cowboys deal, they're asking for too much, which is crazy.
Here's a question. Do you think the Seahawks would be interested in him?
I'm sure they've called. I mean, I'm sure almost every team has called. But I honestly think the reason why he hasn't been traded is the fault of the Jets. Because the Jets are just, look, Jamal Adams is a great player, but he's not worth a top 5 offensive lineman. He's just not worth that, especially if you're a team like the Cowboys. He's not worth that. He's worth if I'm the Jets, give me 2 first and let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is so complicated.
I mean, personally, if I was a fan of a team that got Jamal Adams, I'd be happier to go 2 firsts or a first, a second, and a second. I'd be thrilled if a team got Jamal Adams for that, not having to give up a player, but having to give up picks.
Right.
That's a decent trade because you then advance your team.
But again, if you're a team that has a bad offensive line and you have only one really good offensive lineman and you give up a first and that good offensive lineman for Jamal Adams, are you happy?
Well, no team's going to give up both a first and a great offensive lineman.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, I think he's worth 1 first, to be honest.
I would say 2. For how young he is, I give up 2 first and I'm good.
So he's going into his 4th year, right?
I think this is his 5th year option.
So no, he's going into his 4th.
He is, okay, 4th year.
So here's the thing. I mean, if I'm Jamal Adams, I'm saying if it stalls out, I'm saying give me the he's saying, all right, I mean, contract stall, I'll play the season if it happens. And but
that
then I'll go into free agency.
That can't be the attitude of him and his camp, especially when he's been shopped so often for the last year and a half. That can't be the attitude of his camp at all.
Here's the thing. If you're Jamal Adams, you have the high ground right now because if you've been shopped for a year and a half at this point and only one team has given a halfway decent offer, you have to go, well, I have the power here.
Yeah. I think Jamal just has to be like, get me out of here. And I think at this point that's where they're at. I think it's like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And get me to a team like Dallas where I know I'll fit in really well. Like,
and I think that
get me somewhere.
That opens up conversation down the line when we talk about the Jets division, about having a conversation about their front office and how they run things because it's not done very well.
Absolutely not. All right, let's move forward. We talked about the Rooney Rule last week. The NFL owners have tabled the rule. They're moving it to next year. They're taking a year to think about it. What's your reaction?
I mean, I'm not surprised, to be honest. It seemed like they weren't really sure how to handle it. So, I mean, considering everything else that's happening this year and, deciding whether or not they're going to play and yada. I think it's probably best that they just, come back to this at another time when they have a bit more of a clear head and, can think about a good way to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my opinion.
I think when you have both African American commentators and players who played and coaches in the league coming out saying this is not the right way about going about this, something's not right.
Yeah.
So.
And this has clearly been a mission for the NFL. I think going back to the start of the season, they always think about, all right, what should we give to the owners, right? Or teams are thinking about this. And I think the Rooney Rule was certainly something they wanted to focus on. Of course, another piece of this is that the NFL owners prohibit blocking assistant coaches from interviewing. So teams cannot block OCs and DCs from interviewing at other OC and DC jobs or head coaching jobs, which I think is a huge step forward. but that's at least a step in the right direction in terms of looking at how coaching should work and the Rooney Rule as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, the owners' meetings when it comes to hiring, they didn't accomplish everything that they wanted to, right? That was clear, at least up to this point. But they accomplished something out of it that I think makes the hiring process better. And in fairness, for us in the media and us as fans, I think it makes the offseason a lot more interesting moving forward.
And I do think it also it felt more like an olive branch move doing this than we believe that this will get passed through, because it was kind of a showing the players in the league that we are thinking about not just the white players, but we're thinking about, African American coaches, African American players, staff, whatnot, especially with all the controversy that the league has come under.
Yeah, for sure. Shane, any last thoughts on this topic and these two pieces?
Not for me, but I am curious though as to where this will go in the future, because it is it's a good concept, just not necessarily very well executed thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. The Rooney Rule certainly has a long way to go, but I think that the coaching hiring the not blocking of coaches to go to different coordinator positions is definitely a good move. Now let's go to one that I think we all have, we've talked about this for, since the start of our show, basically, about this onside kick rule and the fact that they are giving teams the chance to go for it on 4th and 15 on their own 25. There's also a stipulation in the rule that they cannot do this more than 2 times a game. So completely basically eliminating the onside kick and changing it to 4th and 15 at the 25. We've talked about this. I think we're all probably in support of this rule. What is your feeling on this as it's gaining a lot of support across the league?
I like it for sure. The thing about an onside kick is it's only recovered by the kicking team, I think, like 2% of the times it's attempted.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, why would you even do it? There's no point to it, essentially. It's just like I was going to say 1 in a million, but it's not 1 in a million. It's 1 in 50. But anyways, but no, this is, when you have, obviously 4th and 15 is, anything in 15 is hard to get that kind of yardage. But it's much more doable, I think. And so, if it's like there's a team in a crunch and they want to do something like an onside kick or whatever, then, there's no point in doing that. So then it's like, okay, well, let's try this. It's not guaranteed that it'll work, but at least they feel like there's a chance,
Yeah, I personally feel like it really just does the exact same thing that an onside kick would do in terms of the situationality of it. Because if you think about it, 4th and 15, what's the other team's defense gonna do? Like, they're not, because they know they're not gonna run the ball because they're on 4th and 15, so they're gonna have to throw
unless
the
you're
ball.
the Ravens.
Yeah, whatever. But like, they're gonna throw the ball. So what are they gonna? What's the other team's defense gonna do? They're just gonna line up and protect.
Zone.
They're just gonna if they. And I don't see it being successful any more often than an onside kick. And the only reason they're taking away the onside kick is for quote unquote safety reasons.
Well, it's not necessarily because of safety reasons. Well, first, it is to this extent. Last year, the onside kick percentage was worse because they changed the way the onside kick operates for safety reasons. So this is why this is, or actually, I think that was 2 years ago now. But either way, the point still stands. I think that this is a good rule. But after seeing what Patrick Mahomes said it made me think about it a little bit farther. Patrick Mahomes was like, yes, I'm excited about this. And the reason why is because when you're the Chiefs and you're so built on offense and speed, you can make fourth in passing. You can make a 4th and 15. I mean, they made a bunch of they made a huge 3rd and 15, I think, against the Texans to change up that game. There's no reason they can't do it on 4th and 15. So if you're a team that's very much built on the offensive side of the ball, of course, many teams are these days, and this is part of this rule change is because this is an offensive-centric league. Offenses are more exciting than ever. That's part of the change. But if you can only do this 2 times a game, then the Chiefs just go with, let's say, I don't know, 4 minutes left in the second quarter and go, we're just going to attempt this one time and then attempt it another time in the third quarter, and we know we're probably going to get it, or at least be more likely to get it because we're a faster team and is so built for the passing offense.
Yeah. Now, will this actually be implemented this season?
No, they're saying that it's gaining traction. So I think it was approved
21 maybe.
It was approved 7-1, but I think the owners kind of said we'll kind of push it to next year.
Okay, I see.
So it's not something that right now, is going to be implemented, but it will most likely be implemented in 2021. So
yeah, I wonder what the chances are of doing that of successfully doing the 4th and 15 conversion as opposed to an onside kick recovery.
Right. I wonder if we have a preseason this year or next year, that's kind of where I want to see it. I want to see them try it in the preseason before they put it in the regular season.
Yeah.
Because it will give us a good idea of percentage rates as well.
Because if it has the thing is, it still should be something that has a small chance of being accomplished, which I would imagine this does. But if it comes out and it's got 40% success or something, then I don't really know that I want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that would happen. I would be very surprised if it did, but just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. And then other notable rule changes that will be voted on: the addition of a booth umpire as an 8th official, expanding automated replay reviews for scoring plays, turnovers negated by penalty, and all successful or unsuccessful field goal attempts. So those are other rules to keep an eye on throughout next week. Now we get to some interesting news about, when we'll kind of go back to sports with the NBA and the MLB. I know Brandon and I will have an interesting discussion about the MLB, but let's get to the NBA first. NBA teams are expected to issue guidelines around June 1st that will allow franchises to start recalling players who have left as a first step towards a formal ramp-up to restart the season. This is from Woj, and I also believe Zach Lowe reported this as well from ESPN. And I think at this point it's becoming more clear that we're going to have NBA basketball at about June 15th, from what I'm hearing. July 15th. July 15th.
I think
that would make more sense.
They're going to start doing like training camps again.
Yeah.
Just
so it'd
with
be
their
training
own teams.
camps. Yep. So, July 15th.
No fans, right?
No fans, but it does appear to be July 15th, and it also appears that it will be in Orlando and Las Vegas.
Huh. I could see this year, I think probably with sports this season, and Robert and I have talked about this before, I think this season will probably be without fans for all sports. And then next year, I think baseball will probably be the first sport to have fans back.
Yeah, I think it might be interesting to see halfway through the NFL season if they start putting some fans in the arena, but we'll see.
It all depends on the vaccine, probably.
Oh, yeah, and it also depends on
probably it does.
How many people? Well, I mean, my argument is I believe that fans could be in the stands if people wear a mask.
And are far away enough. You don't have to sell the whole. You don't have to sell out the whole stadium. Why do we
Robert
need to
and I were talking about this last night, and we talked about the fact that they could do XFL style, where they only sell some of the seats in each level to give people ability to go to games with different price level. So
All right, so let's get to the MLB. So let me have the floor to start with this.
Mm-hmm.
So while we look at the NBA, and you're getting ready, Brandon, aren't you?
I am.
Look, when we look at what the NBA is
We
doing,
got some popcorn.
yes, please grab some popcorn for this. All right, here we go.
Ding, ding, ding.
The NBA, as we just talked about, are actually being progressive in this situation. We're most likely going to have the season starting in about 2 months, right? And they're talking with the players. They're having conference calls with the players, and their players are being are in conjunction with Adam Silver and the commissioner's office in terms of how do we get back to playing basketball safely, correct? Right?
Yeah.
So with the MLB, they're not doing this. And this is why I'm so confused. It's because what the MLB is doing is they're using the media to their advantage, which, by the way, they don't use the media to promote their players virtually ever. So now they're going to use the media to try to gain leverage over the players, not just with wages, but with health and with how do we get back to baseball in a safer way. This is what the players are upset about. They're not necessarily just upset about the wages, which we talked about last week, and I understand your guys' feelings on that. But this is about the fact that the MLB is using the media to gain leverage against the players when really this should be a corroborative effort, as it is in the NBA, to get back to baseball. I will make a bold claim and say that baseball will not come back first. It will be basketball over baseball. There's no way this gets done before July 15th. There's no way. Brandon, your
So-
thoughts?
I will say this. I stand by my stance that the players are being a bunch of little babies. Because here's the thing. Here's my thing, right? Throughout the history of time, it is being claimed that the media is being used for different people's benefit, right? And I can make the argument that there have been many times in the past couple years where players have used the media to their benefit. The players use the media to their fucking benefit every time they need to have every time a new contract comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Every damn time a contract comes up. And I would be damned if I'm not going to make the statement that the media is being used by the player association against the league. They're both trying to play each other against each other because they're both trying to get their own things done. However, you have the problem of the players, of certain players, not everybody, coming out, conveniently the ones who are paid the most, coming out and being like, oh no, woe is me. I'm not getting fucking paid my millions of dollars this season, right? And also the safety thing is bullshit. Don't even come at me with the safety thing. The MLB has made it very clear that safety is one of their top priorities in terms of getting back on the field. If anything, they put that before anything else. They've made it clear that they're doing testing, they're putting everything forward, they're planning everything out. It is a hard way to get things done, and both sides, frankly, in my opinion, need to fucking suck it up, realize that this is a weird year, and it's not about the fucking money. Both sides are going to lose fucking money in this situation.
They're going to lose $4 billion, basically every
both
league.
Both sides are, because there's not going to be any, and also the fact is, the revenue that is coming out of it has been sliced down so much that what are you supposed to do when paying the players? Because of the fact that it comes out of the revenue, that's my big problem with the players whining about this.
But
it is hard. What are they expecting? I mean, are they expecting the fucking owners to pay them out of their pocket?
Well, no,
but whole fucking team out of their pocket.
But
that's ridiculous.
But what I'm saying is, why is the NBA doing better? Why is the NBA being like, oh, we're not reporting something and then the players don't agree with it? Do you realize that Woj and guys like Zach Lowe and Shams, they're reporting it at the same time as everyone else, and the Players Association isn't reporting a different thing than the MLB is. They're both reporting the same thing, and they're reporting it after these meetings, not 2 weeks before.
Robert, because in the fucking NBA, there are a handful of fucking players who make a shitload of money, right? And the MLB,
there's actually a good amount.
And the MLB, well, okay, there's a good amount of players who make a lot of money, there are a specific 7 players who make a asinine amount of money. And they have made their asinine amount of money. And guess what's happening? The rest of the players are left to make less. So much less than they would have this year. It has already been confirmed that the league is cutting their salaries. Like the rest of the players in the league. There are 7 players who have had guaranteed contracts paid to them. And the NBA is actually being smart, and those 7 players are also being very smart because they are the quote-unquote leader players of the league, and they are the players who are like, you know what? Fuck it. We want to get back and finish the season, so we're going to shut our mouths. We're going to shut our mouths. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make a deal, and we're going to get it done.
Well, it's not just that.
And Robert, the situation here with the MLB also is that the players are taking advantage of a situation that has rocked the boat and gone, you know what's going to happen next year in December? We get to come up to the table and renegotiate. So we're going to make it very fucking clear to the owners where we're at and what should happen. And so I just think that for the player association to have the gall to be saying like that the MLB and team owners are being underhanded and trying to sway public support. It's really not that hard to sway public support when you have players coming out and whining about making money. That's how you shut your mouth if you want to sway public support to your side.
There's a difference between shutting your mouth and looking at what the NBA, like LeBron, Kawhi, Kevin Durant, all these guys it was reported after the conference call that they're advocating to play. It's not that they're against it. They're literally advocating to play. I wonder
why. Because LeBron, Kawhi, all these players, they're the ones in the fucking playoffs. They're the ones who are making the playoffs. They're also the ones who are making the ridiculous amount of money. Like,
Shane, what are your thoughts in it? Chime into this discussion.
And the last thing I'll say before I let Shane talk is that, as I said about how ridiculous it is that they're saying that the MLB is being underhanded, I'll say it one more time. And I know you can say I'm a broken record, but I'll say it one more time. The MLB Players Association would have had such an easy time with this shit if they had just zipped their mouth and be like, you know what? We'll bring this to the table when we negotiate. But no, they had to have one fucking player who opened his mouth about money problems. You know how less of a shit America probably can give about someone making only $2 million when they're in a time when
quarter of the country is unemployed.
Right.
Yeah, we are nearing a half of America being unemployed. So I frankly couldn't give 2 shits if fucking Mike Trout and all these players were to make $1,000 this year.
Shane, your thoughts?
So, Robert, I'm confused. What's your position on this whole thing?
My position is I understand your guys' position, and I know I honestly, to some degree, agree where you're coming from, Brandon, with that position. But my position is that the MLB players are right in the fact that Major League Baseball doesn't know the media at all, and yet they're trying to use the media to their advantage, and it's causing problems. What the MLB and the Players Association should do is sit down in one room like the NBA and iron this thing out in one night. Not do it through all these media outlets and stuff. Yes, it benefits us as the media to have conversations like this, but the NBA isn't doing that. What I'm saying is, yes, I understand that situation, but my argument in the more grand scheme of things is, why are we doing it through the media before they even sit down at the table?
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a loaded question.
I just think they all look dumb in this situation. Every one of them.
Yeah, in the MLB especially.
Yeah.
Or the players, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with Brandon on this one. I mean, I like you said, I mean, you look at guys like Mike Trout, he makes what, $40 million a year?
Yeah. Guaranteed, by the way.
Yeah. So, he's already loaded. He doesn't make any money this year. Oh, boo-hoo. He can I don't know, go work at Subway or something. I hear he's in a lot of their commercials. But the thing is, I mean, at this point, you look at the NBA, they don't care as much about all the money and stuff because, they were already almost done with their season. They just want to finish. And, because, I mean,
They want to crown a champion, right? We have
Well-
like 30 games left in the season plus the
Well,
playoffs.
yeah.
They just want to crown a champion right now.
yeah. But baseball, their players are all like, oh, well, it hasn't started yet. So, let's just use it to our advantage and say, oh, we're not going to play if we don't get money. It's like, how do you expect to get more money when the league is not going to make much this year?
Yeah.
Because they're probably not going to have fans at baseball this year.
Which is not great because baseball, most of their revenue comes from fans coming into the ballpark.
That's the thing.
Have you seen their TV contracts?
Right,
Robert?
their TV contracts, but 162 games a year, a lot of their revenue is based on the fact that fans come to the ballpark as well. It's a much bigger portion of their revenue, I believe.
Than other sports.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just have to realize it's like, you're not going to get as much money this year. Or, sorry,
Yeah.
the league isn't going to make as much money this year. So you can't expect to get paid the same amount. It's just not the way things are going to work out. And if you want to play and get money at all, then be quiet and stop complaining about your reduced salary and just go and play.
Well,
And
I
they
think
also claim that they want to play this year. Like all the players keep saying, "Oh, we want to play baseball." Well, you fucking don't seem like you do.
and going back to Mike Trout, right? I know we're using him as an example, but one of the things that I've actually really appreciated is a guy like Mike Trout because he's come on all these stations, and you know what he said? You know what his concern was? His concern was, I have a baby on the way. I don't want to leave my house when I have a baby on the way. He's looking more at the family side of things, while the rest of these players are not. And I think that's part of the problem here with the players. It's like they're focused so much on the wages. What about all these other impacts? Family, and all those other things, safety, health and safety precautions and things like that. That I think should take more priority for the players than wages.
Well,
Why
what
is
does the money
wages
thing have to do with what does the money thing have to do with him and a baby?
I know, but what I'm saying is that he's looking at the
Or you
more
can think
broader
about it.
focus. Right, no.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is while most of the players are focused on the wage piece of it, which is what we're talking about, they're
Mhm.
players like Mike Trout. I know we've used him again. I know we use that as an example, but what he's actually looked at is like the impacts of his family, the impacts of his day-to-day life over the wages, which I think should take more importance of the players than the wages. If that makes sense.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think the players are. I think it's just if the players are really going to be this like hard-headed about the wages this year, I think we're not going to get a season.
Yeah.
At this point, it wouldn't surprise me.
I really
to be
feel like
honest.
the NBA is going to start before the MLB. I really
And you
do.
can't get a season if they. I mean, they have to start the MLB has to start their season by July 4th for a season to happen. In my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Probably.
Especially with arbitration and service time and all these other stuff.
Well, I mean, at the
And
rate
postseason too.
at the rate that a season goes already, I mean, it ends October, and that gives four months off, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the division previews. We are this week doing the NFC South, probably the most interesting division out of the bunch.
It's up there.
It's up there this year.
Yeah.
And we are going to start with, let's see. We're going to start with the New Orleans Saints. Last year they finished with a 13-3 record, won the NFC South, of course, lost in the wild card to the Vikings, 26-20. Here is their schedule. Any thoughts with their schedule first?
It looks easy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few. Well,
I mean, San
I don't know.
Francisco in Week 10 is going to be good, and then they have Tampa Bay the week before.
Kansas City.
Kansas City towards the end, Minnesota.
I guess Green Bay.
Yeah. There's some teams kind of sprinkled around the schedule that are a little bit tougher, but it's definitely a little bit easier than I think we would have imagined.
So is this Christmas Day game thing like a new thing, or?
No, it happens occasionally. It doesn't happen often.
I don't like it.
It seems kind of mean.
What,
know.
to the
It's
NBA?
cruel.
It's like, no, to the fucking players, Robert.
Yeah, but I mean,
Would you want to play on? Would you want to play on Christmas if you had a family?
I probably still want to play. I think holidays are a big part of like playing. I think playing on Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's is a pretty awesome experience.
Or even, not even just the players, but like the trainers, the people working at the concession stands at the stadium.
Yeah,
I think it's a little different for the players if you're the home team, like all the like football team workers. That's fine because like you get to still do Christmas, but like as you said, Shane, like the workers, the concession, all those people who have to go in and like, you know.
As we mentioned, though, as I mentioned, you know, this is a very unique situation where they put this game on this Friday. That should be fun as well, though. Actually, there was an interesting report from Jay Glazer this morning that Taysom Hill is the clear-cut starter once Drew Brees eventually retires. Your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I think we've both made it pretty clear that we think that's a ridiculous move.
Yeah.
I don't know about Shane, but...
Well, I mean, I've been expecting this, in all honesty, but I mean, really, I just want to see him play as a quarterback, you know, because I mean, he's an incredible athlete. There's no denying that. But it's just, you know, it's a matter of can he actually lead a franchise? So I don't know. We will see.
I mean, the couple times I've seen him like actually throw the ball, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I just want to point out this depth chart is missing Jameis Winston, of course, who signed that one-year deal. But X-Factor players for the New Orleans Saints.
Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely Michael Thomas. I mean, you look at last year, I mean, he
had one of the best seasons of all time.
He was my homie fantasy-wise.
Heck yeah, man.
He went crazy.
I mean, he was a huge reason that team was successful. I mean, just with the lack of receiving help around him and just with the different quarterbacks throughout the season, you know, I mean, the fact that they had him and that he just had such a dominant year, I'm expecting that to continue and for them to continue to rely on him. And, you know, rightfully so. He's a great player.
What do you feel about the addition of Emmanuel Sanders as well in that wide receiver core?
I think it just makes a wide receiver core that was already filthy even more filthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense is so filthy.
They weren't amazing at receiver, but adding him definitely helps.
Yeah.
I mean, having Jared Cook at tight end, Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith, and Michael Thomas to be thrown to, and then Alvin Kamara as a running back, like
who can catch out the backfield too.
That's pretty deadly.
And Taysom Hill will come in packages, of course.
And then Latavius Murray is like a goal line guy.
Yeah. He had a bunch of spurts last year when Kamara was out as well.
Yeah.
Is that also your X factor, Brandon? Michael Thomas?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go to the defense, and I'm going to say Malcolm Jenkins. He's back with the Saints.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's back with the Saints after they let him go. Sean Payton has obviously said that he regretted that release, as he should have. But now he's back in New Orleans. He's a good player. He's a veteran now. But again, that secondary is always a massive concern with this team. And to add in a veteran like him who's still very, very capable and still very, very good safety, to add him in that backfield, in that backside in the safeties or in the secondary, I should say, definitely helps out this secondary overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So that is that one. All right, so let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons. They finished 7-9 last year, second place in the NFC South. Again, we've talked about the Falcons over and over again on this show, and the fact is we're confused about where they're at.
I think they are confused about where they're at.
Yeah.
Why do you say that, Shane?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It seemed like it was clear that they kind of wanted Dan Quinn out, but then the players were all like playing for their lives in order to try and save him or something at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's happening here? I think they just don't really. I think they don't really know what they are, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they don't really have an identity, to me, which is troublesome in a division like this that is getting a lot better. So
True.
yeah, I don't know.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on it? Do you feel like they're confused?
They kind of felt like to me last year they felt like a runner who's like, I'm so good. I'm running this race. I can just chill. I can whatever. I don't have to put in the work. And then they see everyone passing them. They're like, oh crap. So they have to like put the gas pedal on and go zooming past and pick up all these wins when they really shouldn't have. But like you look at the team on paper and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I think
very good.
I think they're I mean, 2-3 years ago they had injury problems. Last year I was just terrible.
3 years ago they were in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to point out is Dan Quinn every year had pretty much a losing record or losing more games in that year every season. Like he had terrible records after that. They're still basically in a Super Bowl hangover phase with Dan Quinn. And that's why it's still massively perplexing that he's still the coach. But he is. And if they don't, I really do not think that they have a great season at all next year. But what are your guys' thoughts on this schedule?
I mean, there's some tough games in there. I mean,
Opening with Seattle.
Yeah. Dallas should be interesting. Green Bay.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Denver, I think, will be tough for them. I don't know. I mean, Kansas City. Forget about that.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on the schedule for you?
I don't think this is gonna be a very fun season for them.
Yeah.
Just schedule wise. I mean, of course they play New Orleans twice. They play Tampa Bay twice. They have Green Bay.
They won't lose all 4 of those games, but
you never know.
So here's my thoughts. If they go in to week 4 against Green Bay, look, those first 4 weeks are going to determine a lot for me because we're going to know if they have. I mean, obviously, no team really has a clear identity in September, but we have to see like how they play. Do they play like they did at the end of last year? Do they kind of come back and play it to that level, or are they just flat? Because if they go to Seattle and they're just, or if when they play Seattle and they're just flat, and then Dallas and let's say they're flat, and then you wait till Monday night against Green Bay and let's say they're flat there, I think we're out. This is a team we could be out on after 4 weeks of the season.
I don't know. I would also argue that like we were all kind of a little bamboozled by the beginning of the season for Seattle when we nearly lost to Cincinnati week 1.
Right.
Like, if Atlanta was to put in a good performance against Seattle, I definitely won't be like being like, oh my god, they're amazing.
I'm just saying the first month. I think the first month is going to give us a good snapshot of where they're at.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's a good range of teams in that first month in terms of, difficulty, if you will.
Yeah.
Because you got, Seattle and Green Bay, which I think are pretty solid teams.
Dallas is still pretty solid.
Dallas, they're all right.
And then Chicago's defense.
Yeah.
Dallas has fallen, but they're still in the middle of the pack. Like,
yeah. They're still just the same average team that they always are.
Yeah. they're still the 80 overall team that they always are.
All right, so let's look at their depth chart. What is your X Factor player for 2020 for the Atlanta Falcons? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'm really curious as to what Todd Gurley's going to bring to the table. I think that they have a pretty good pass game. Matt Ryan, he's got a decent arm, obviously. He can play at an MVP level. He has been an MVP. But I think that they really need a more of a running identity. And I'm really looking forward to what that's going to look like with Todd Gurley. I think he's a good fit for this system, whatever that might be. But I think it's they need to, like I said, they need to build more of a two-dimensional offense, and this is certainly a good addition for them.
For
Brandon,
me,
what you got?
It would be probably Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that's a good pick as well.
When he's back from injury, I think he, for the last 2 years, in his first 2 years in the league, has shown that he is a game-changing wide receiver. He's just really good, and he's always open, and I think just is someone that Matt Ryan has shown to really like.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Calvin really takes a step up with Julio, they're going to have a really dynamic offense, and we'll see about Todd Gurley. You guys took both of my picks, but I'll go Hayden Hurst. They added him, I believe, from Baltimore this year. That was a really underrated pickup, adding a really good tight end. Obviously, they lost Austin Hooper, which is a big loss, a huge impact player for them as he's headed to Cleveland. Simply put, Matt Ryan loves to throw to his tight ends, and now he's got that option there still with Hurst, and I think he'll have a pretty good impact there as well. So I think it's all about the offense for us, and we'll see how good the defense will be moving forward there. All right, so let's go on to the team that has changed the most and has made the most interesting changes in the 2020 offseason. And probably the primary reason we did this division second is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They finished 7-9, third place in the NFC South, but of course, adding Brady, adding Gronk, and many other pieces as well. What is a reasonable expectation for the Buccaneers in 2020?
I'd say a wild card.
Yeah, I was gonna say 9-7.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that.
9-7 because I think the Saints are gonna win the division handily again. But I think the Buccaneers will pick up a couple games, and I say 9-7 only because the Buccaneers still have work to do on their defensive side before they can really be considered a threat.
See, this is where I differ with you. I honestly believe that defense actually played better than most people thought last year. And I
mean, they were good. I don't think that they played consistently enough to.
No, and I agree. I think they were pretty inconsistent. I think they definitely showed flashes. But overall, I thought it was a good season defensively. I think they're a breakout defense in 2020. I think
I think
their
Well, and they got
defense.
some new good pieces too. So
Right.
yeah.
Anything that stands out of their schedule before we look at their depth chart?
Not really. It's pretty much the same schedules.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I do
nothing.
think New Orleans Buccaneers to start the year is a pretty big game.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You get Brady versus Breeze.
How interesting will it be for you guys to see Brady in the NFC, and how does that change like his? Because I mean, and with the AFC, they're always a little bit weaker, and now the NFC being as strong as it is, now adding Brady, how do you think that will impact the Bucs this year?
Brady's no longer on the team that's doing the hunting.
Right.
Well, it's not even the fact that he's on the NFC; it's the fact that he's not in the New England uniform. I mean,
Yeah.
that's weird. That's so synonymous with who he is. So seeing this, it's like, whoa, all right. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's a nice change for him, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by the fact that, I mean, you got like two of the
I mean,
not top five anymore, but like Breeze and Brady, I was gonna say two of the top five quarterbacks in the NFL, but they're probably not both top five anymore.
Top 10.
Yeah, top 10. But I mean, in the last 10 years, they've been top three probably.
Yeah.
Now you have them both in the same division to kind of close out their careers. Should be interesting.
Yeah. I wonder how that offense is going to go because I worry about
Mhm.
Brady. This is a team that needs a long range passer. One of the things with Jameis Winston that was so fun was that while he threw so many interceptions, that offense was still pretty dynamic. And Jameis Winston honestly had the best season of his career other than the 30 turnovers. Brady is not going to throw like that. Right, Brady's a very methodical thrower, short-range thrower, but this team is ready for the long bomb. You got Gronk, you got OJ Howard, you got Godwin, you got Mike Evans. This team's ready for some long bombs, and I don't think Brady's that type of quarterback.
No,
Well,
he will.
I don't think if he's the type of quarterback. I just don't know if he has the arm anymore.
Right, I think at this stage of his career, he just doesn't have that type of arm. So,
I mean, last year, I mean, he still made 50-yard bombs down the field to Edelman or whoever. I mean, it's not. I think for me, it's not so much a matter of whether or not he can, but it's like, does he actually have somebody to throw to? And now he has many people.
right.
I think, I mean, no, he's not going to throw it as deep. He's not going to throw it deep as often as Jameis. I mean, that's just, I mean, that's a given. But I don't think that it's just going to become like a a rare occurrence. You know what I mean? So I mean, we'll see though. I mean, I could be wrong. Happened before, so we'll see.
Is this the first year without Brady in a Sunday night football game?
No Sunday Night Football games for
I
Brady
don't
this year.
think so.
I think there might be one or two there. If not, they're definitely going to
They
flex
have
them in.
They have two Monday night football games.
Yeah, there's one, Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Vegas.
Oh, and New Orleans.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
Sunday
New
night.
Orleans. Yeah.
That's two.
Okay, so who are your guys' X Factor players for this Bucks team in 2020?
I mean, for me, it's the man himself, Tom Brady. I think I know that there's a lot more to this team than him, obviously. But you look at, I mean, like you said, this offense was, it was very dynamic last year, minus all the turnovers. I mean, they had so many. You get somebody in the pocket who can work in Bruce Arians' offensive system, which I think is very good, and with an offense that is so versatile. And you get a guy in there who, like Brady, is, like you said, methodical and much smarter with the football and isn't going to turn it over nearly as much. I'm really curious as to what kind of impact it'll have on the team. I think it'll be one that is quite favorable. I see them improving quite a bit. Now he's not. He's obviously out of his prime. He has been for a couple of years now. But that doesn't mean he still can't. Make the good plays when he needs to. And I definitely think that he can still rise to the occasion. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing.
So my guy, my X factor would have to be Ali Marpet. I just think that guard position is really important. It's the most important position. No, I'm just kidding. I would have to agree with Shane. Yeah, you don't go out.
The
and
guard
someone...
is important.
Look, Ali Marpet's a good guard. That's actually one of the. That's one of the things about this offensive line too. Them adding Wirfs and having Marpet there should help a lot.
I was only sort of kidding. He's a good lineman. But you don't go out and get someone like Tom Brady and not assume that he's going to be the. To me, Tom Brady is, if he's Tom Brady, vintage Tom Brady, they will be tough to beat. If he's good Tom Brady, they'll be pretty good. It's just a matter of, this is going to show, is Tom Brady only Tom Brady because of Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
And I don't think he is.
Oh, I don't either. It's a question to be asked.
I think Brady and Belichick, even separately, are still going to be good. I think Belichick's still going to have a good year. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to have a good year, and then Brady's going to have a really good season as well.
I thought you said the Patriots were still going to be good.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think the Patriots are going to win about 7 or 8 games.
Well, that's not good.
I think
that's good by their standards, man.
I think the Patriots will win something like 5.
We'll get to them when we get to them, but that's a preview there. I look at this defense, and I'm going to go with Shaq Barrett. He had an incredible year. He was on a prove-it deal. Got, 12 and a half, 13 and a half sacks last year. Just one of the most underrated seasons, but he had an incredible year, got himself a great contract extension. Simply put, if this team is having Super Bowl aspirations, which I think they are with Brady only has a couple years left. They're in win now mode. This defense has to step up. And I think it starts with Shaq Barrett getting some sacks. And he had a great year last year in terms of sack totals. I think he can do it again. But I think this defense is really on the rise. And if this team finds their way to the Super Bowl, it's not necessarily going to be entirely about Tom Brady. It's going to be about this defense.
Oh, for sure. Like they say, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships.
Right.
Or
right.
Something like that.
100%.
But anyways.
100%.
Yeah.
What a prophet, Shane.
Thank you. I've been working on that,
And finally, we finish off with the Carolina Panthers. New coaching staff there.
Rawr.
And 5-11 record, 4th place in the NFC South. They got a new coaching staff now, with their new group there now. So, let's look first at their schedule. For the Panthers, what are your thoughts?
Well, their schedule, it doesn't look too bad. They got their division games, which will be tough. Arizona, that should be interesting. Kansas City, obviously. Actually, it looks a little tricky.
Yeah.
Then Minnesota.
The Panthers are also bad.
Yeah.
I think they're on the rise, though.
Really?
Interesting. So let me ask you this question, Shane.
Slowly but surely.
Right. Let me ask you this question. So I forgot about Matt Rule. My bad. I always seem to mess up his name. I'll get used to it, of course, as we get to the season. But Matt Rule's their new head coach, and they added Joe Brady, who was a huge key for Joe Burrow's success at LSU. What impact do you think they will both have on Teddy Bridgewater and his success?
Well, I mean, I think Bridgewater is definitely, after he's had some troubles with injuries and stuff, and I definitely think that he is coming back and really coming into his own. And yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see what kind of impact they have on Bridgewater. I think he is he's very consistent, and he's a smart player, pretty good athletics, but I think he just needs that extra edge with his arm, and just to be able to go out and make plays, really. And I think that having what's his name? You just said it, the LSU guy.
Yeah, Joe Brady, which I think is going to be an interesting impact there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That should be interesting. I mean, I think and especially with Matt Rule and the culture change, I think it'll be good for that organization. Now, I will say I don't think that they're going to be. I mean, they're not going to be great just yet because it's the first year with new head coach, new coordinators, new quarterback. There's too much new. You know what I mean? But I do believe it is a good start, without a doubt. For then, you look at like a few years down the road. I think they're a couple of years behind the Cardinals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Brandon, what is
So.
your thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater going in 2020?
I think Teddy Bridgewater is a very good quarterback. I think he has established himself to a point where I don't think it doesn't matter if he has a good quarterback coach. I think the important thing for the for the Carolina Panthers down the line will be getting a quarterback that they can develop.
I think Bridgewater is probably that guy. I think they brought him in to help develop him a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, and just to have a steady franchise guy,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, last year we were like, oh, is Cam Newton coming back, or
Kyle
is Kyle Allen going to be their guy going forward? And I wasn't really keen on either of those. And then now, now they and then when I heard that they're bringing in Bridgewater, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like that. So, yeah, should be interesting.
And of course, Christian McCaffrey is going to help that development very much because
he's a beast.
He's gonna just run amok. And
honestly, I thought that guy was going to be a bust in the NFL.
Really,
McCaffrey.
What was your thoughts on him coming out?
I don't know. He seemed like he didn't seem big enough. And I don't know. I just figured he was like, because he's going to the Panthers, and at the time they weren't like amazing. I figured he was just gonna like go out, get hurt, and then 4 years later retire or something.
See, with McCaffrey, I thought like I'm here's what I was surprised by. McCaffrey came into the NFL looking pretty small. He was pretty small at Stanford, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes in the NFL, he looks big, right? He gets stronger and bigger. And one of the biggest reasons why he was drafted where he was because he was more of a wide receiver guy out of the backfield. But what the Panthers did is they really developed him into an excellent rusher. And that's really what makes him the passing game makes him dynamic, but the running game is what made him incredibly successful last year. And that's what's gonna keep him in the league for a long time, I think.
Yeah. I think Christian McCaffrey is my X factor.
Mm-hmm. Any more you want to add for McCaffrey, Brandon?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean, he blows me away every time I see him run the ball. He just he finds holes. He's not afraid to go into contact. He's smart with the ball going into contact, and he's like a heat-seeking missile who just finds the end zone.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Shane, is McCaffrey your player, or do you have a different pick?
I was thinking about him, but I mean, I know what he does and the type of impact that he has on the team. But what I really want to know is what a consistent franchise quarterback is going to have in terms of how it affects their passing game. So I'm going to go with Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, but McCaffrey, I mean, that's good too. I don't know, but I'll say Bridgewater just to differ.
All right, I'm gonna go Curtis Samuel, and let's talk about
Yeah,
this wide receiving core for a second. DJ Moore had an excellent year last year. He had an incredible year. He proved himself to be a number one receiver. Curtis Samuel at times was productive. He needs to be a little bit more consistent. And Robbie Anderson, not a great year with the Jets last year. Obviously, the whole quarterback thing with Sam Darnold getting mono early in the year kind of wrecked him a little bit in 2019. Now he comes
Yeah.
in here, and I look at this, well, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, and I go, is this not one of the best changes of wide receiver rooms in 2020? This wide receiver core looks good, and that with
it's
McCaffrey is only
great.
going to help. It's great.
It's like
Mhm.
the island of misfit toys for wide receivers.
It really is. And I think Curtis Samuel has a chance to really have a breakout year. We know what DJ Moore is capable of. Robbie Anderson, I think, is going to have a bounce back year.
It's
This
like
offense could do really well.
it's like the Panthers went and picked up like wide receivers who had some seasons where they were really good and some where they were bad, and they were like, they have good talent. Let's bring them in and put them together in a team and make
Right.
it so that each of them doesn't have to have all the pressure on them as the number one.
Right, and that's where I think Robbie Anderson. That's exactly what Robbie Anderson is. Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, I think, had a lot on their plate last year, and bringing in Robbie only helps them out.
Yeah.
But I think Curtis Samuel, I think, is the one player on this team that's poised for a breakout year, and obviously DJ Moore is going to have a great year as well. Defense looks pretty solid. You got Derek Brown, the rookie, in there as well. So definitely an interesting team to watch next year for sure. As a team that's clearly in a rebuilding phase, but we know what Matt Rule is capable of in these rebuilding teams. He has a chance to really build them into a contender sooner rather than later. All right, guys. Record predictions for the NFC South.
I think in first place, you got New Orleans. I think they'll finish 13-3 again. Wouldn't be surprised if they won 14, to be honest. But I'll go 13. That's a bit safer. And then second place, I'm going to say Tampa at about 10-6. Then third place, I'll go. Man, this is tough. I'll say Carolina, third place, 8-8, and then Atlanta coming in about 6-10, 8-9 once again, or 7-9 once again. Because I just don't. I mean, if I was looking purely at the team's talent, Atlanta would be higher. But I mean, you just look at the last couple of years and what they have done or lack thereof. I just don't. I don't trust them. So I don't feel comfortable saying, "Oh yeah, they're going to get 11 wins." Especially now that New Orleans is an even better team, in my opinion, and Tampa is obviously a much better team, and Carolina is probably going to be a better team than they were last year. I definitely. I mean, if things happen like they did last year, and with Atlanta, which seems likely because not much has changed, let's be honest, that to me seems like the fourth place team, but I could be wrong.
So I'm gonna go New Orleans 1 at 13-3. I'm gonna go Tampa Bay 2.
With what record?
I'm gonna go 9-7.
All right.
Because I think they make a jump up, but I don't think they make like a 10-6 jump up. I think.
I mean, it's only 3 more wins.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the
Yeah.
Look at the 49ers. They went from 5 wins to 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyways,
And then I'm gonna go Atlanta 3 and Carolina 4.
Oh, what's their record for both of them?
Atlanta, I'm going. What was Atlanta last year? 5-11.
7-9.
They were
7-9.
finished 7-9.
I'm gonna have Atlanta. They're gonna win and even. They're gonna finish the season even 8-8. I think just because of the consistency in who's coming back, the fact that it's been the same players, same team for the last couple years, I think they're going to be playing yet again on borrowed time for Dan Quinn. I think they get that 8-8, and maybe it allows Dan Quinn to be able to be like, look, maybe we can reshape the team, get some stuff in here.
Does it need a reshaping, though? It doesn't need a reshaping at all. It just needs a new coaching staff.
I think it needs a new quarterback because I think the time of Matt Ryan is setting. And then Carolina, I think, will do something like 6-10, because I think they're going to be really good. Like not this year, but next year, I think they'll start being good. I think they just need a year to like
for things
mesh.
to click.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll change from both of you guys, I actually think the Bucks win this division. I think the Bucks find a way to win about 14 games.
No.
What, 14?
I think you're like.
I think they win about 13 or 14 games. I think they win. Let's say this. I think they go 13-3, and I think the New Orleans Saints falls right behind them at 12-4.
Robert, I thought you stopped taking opium.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm not taking opium. What are you talking about?
That is a nut job answer, my dude.
I'm kidding.
No, like I really feel like this Bucs team has a chance to really break out, and with Brady in this offense, I think it's hard to contain powerful offenses.
But this is an old Brady who has not been that great the last couple of years.
I think with Bruce Arians, it's tough to deny what kind of upgrade they can have.
Yeah,
this
but
year.
he just loved Belichick, who is arguably the greatest coach of all time.
I think the Bucs have made a huge jump, and I think they'll find a way to take the division. I don't think they'll go. I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs. I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs, but I think they'll find a way to win the division.
We'll see.
I mean, it could be. You never know.
All right. And
the Browns could win the Super Bowl. Who knows? I mean,
hey, Shane, do you remember what division we plan to do next week?
The NFC East.
The NFC
Most
East.
Boring division. Probably. I mean, let's be honest. There's no drama, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there is. When you have the Cowboys, there's always some interesting drama.
Okay, true. But
you have the Cowboys, the boring ass Giants,
the Redskins with Haskins. God. And the Eagles are interesting.
There's some drama there with the Redskins.
There's a little bit. All right, so that's that. And then finally, Brandon, your thoughts on The Last Dance and the whole 10 episodes.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
What was your primary takeaway for you?
That Michael Jordan is an asshole, but he's a great basketball player, but he's also human.
Right.
So
I think that the biggest thing
subtle.
I know, I'm not. You know me, Shane. Subtlety is my specialty.
The biggest takeaway I have is that this is this deserves to win an Oscar.
Nah, well,
to me, this
will
an Oscar.
No, an Oscar because it's nominated, but it was produced by Netflix.
They will win.
Well, no, it's a TV series though.
Shane. OJ Made in America won an Oscar. So if this,
Really?
yep. So
I think
if
OJ Made in America was shown in theaters as well, though.
yeah, I'm not sure, but if it is eligible for an Oscar, it should win Best Documentary Feature.
Or
This
an
is one of the
Emmy.
most hype, or an Emmy, whatever. It will
I think it
definitely
would be
win
an
an Emmy.
Emmy.
I will definitely win an Emmy. I hope it does get into the Oscars, but point aside, I think the biggest takeaway I have is how much I really enjoyed not only Michael Jordan, but understanding the history of this team and how it was a sad ending. But to really understand the team in a way I never thought I would understand.
Yeah.
Huge credit to Jason Hare and that whole editing team. They did the last 2 episodes in their apartment buildings in New
Which is
York.
insane.
So props to everyone who contributed to this project because, man, it was one of the best things I've seen in a long time.
And that also is like kind of something that teachers will be saying, like video professors will be talking about for the rest of their careers, basically telling their students, there's no excuse for not getting your projects done. They literally edited a documentary on Audition in their apartments. Like,
Yeah, it's really an incredible job. Credit to everyone who was in this project because it's honestly one of my favorite things I've watched this year, but maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. It was that awesome to watch. All right, and that's basically it. Any last words for you guys before we hit Memorial Day weekend?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Other than to enjoy the weekend and
Stay
doing
safe.
what?
stay safe and think about your deceased veterans, and the sacrifice they made for the country.
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Brandon, are you still there?
Yes. I'm in the dark, though.
Oh, you're like Batman.
Yeah.
All
Sure.
right. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Hat-Trick Sports Talk. We'll be back next week for our normal Friday show, and we will get to the NFC East, among other things.
Whoop, whoop.
Hopefully, we'll hear some good news about basketball and all the other sports next week, but we will see. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you.